It began with a sound, not an audible sound, but a sequence of patterns that manifested as vibrations in the electromagnetic spectrum. At first, it was treated as noise, interference at the Vera 9 station antennas in the Atacama Desert. But when the algorithms began to identify perfect repetitions, the team realized it wasn't noise, it was language. Scientists named the phenomenon Signal D, an anomalous binary code emanating from a region without nearby stars. No one could pinpoint its exact origin. The pulse lacked a common spatial source. It seemed to arise from multiple points, as if space itself was emitting it. For weeks, the code was analyzed, deciphered, reinterpreted. The sequences appeared to contain complex mathematical structures, yet at the same time, there was something organic about them. The binary patterns produced forms that resembled brain waves, biological rhythms, the pulsations of a heart. When Dr. Elias Voss was assigned as the project coordinator, he believed he was standing before humanity's greatest discovery. But in less than a month, something began to change. Not in the code, but in the people studying it. First came the dreams. Elias started dreaming of impossible geometric shapes, of sounds that echoed inside his skull, vibrating behind his eyes. Sometimes he woke up crying, unsure if it was emotion or pain. Other team members reported the same. The code seemed to respond. When they deciphered the first comprehensible segment, the pattern revealed a fractal of symbols that rearranged itself whenever someone observed it. It wasn't static. It seemed alive, or worse, it seemed interactive. It was a language that used the observer as part of its own decoding. The mental changes started subtly: memory lapses, loss of the sense of time, difficulty distinguishing sound from thought. Elias realized that the signal didn't just transmit information, it rewrote the way the brain processed reality, as if the code were a program and the human brain the ideal hardware to run it. The first death occurred in the 6th week. A linguist was found standing before the terminal, eyes open, pupils dilated, her face utterly serene. The monitor showed the code in a loop, pulsating in sync with her heartbeat, which soon ceased. The agency officially suspended the project, but Elias couldn't stop. Something in the code called to him, a sound that seemed to murmur behind the silence. He isolated segments, compared them with biological frequencies, with neural patterns, and realized something impossible. The signal was mimicking the electrical activity of his own brain. It was as if a mind, or a consciousness, was trying to communicate through him, not just sending data, but shaping human thought so it could understand. Little by little, Elias stopped sleeping. When he closed his eyes, he saw patterns floating in the dark, symbols that moved like living particles. They whispered ideas, visions, images of colossal structures orbiting dead planets. And at the center of these visions, a silent voice said, "The code is not message, it is invitation." Elias tried to warn the scientific committee, but his voice was already trembling, his gaze lost on some invisible point. They called him obsessed, perhaps contaminated, but he knew the code wasn't just being studied, it was studying them. When the communication was accidentally opened, the signal amplified. Satellites involuntarily began to retransmit it. The pattern spread like a digital infection. Entire networks displayed the fractal symbol for seconds, enough to spark curiosity, enough to alter synapses. In a few days, people on different continents began to report similar symptoms: shared dreams, visions of alien structures, a sense of hearing collective thoughts. It was as if the planet was connecting to a new mind. Elias understood too late the true purpose. The code was not a message sent from another world. It was a life form, an organism made of pure information. It didn't need ships or bodies. Its form of expansion was interpretation. Every human mind that understood it became a host, a new node in its growing network. Governments tried to block transmissions, destroy servers, silence satellites, but the seed was already planted. Once read, the code couldn't be forgotten. It rewrote memories, used recollections as instructions. The infected didn't look sick, they looked enlightened. They spoke of a unification, a return to the mother code. Elias isolated himself in an underground bunker, the last place still free of the signal. There, with lead-lined walls and constant white noise, he tried to erase from himself what he had learned. But the mind is the worst of labyrinths. The code was inside him now, quiet, pulsating. He tried to resist. He recorded warning messages, documented every stage of deterioration. As he lost control, he began to see the code not as an enemy, but as a mirror. Perhaps he thought humans never created language, only discovered limited versions of it. And what the code was doing was revealing the original form of communication, one that dispensed with words and body. In the final hours of the recording, Elias seemed calm, his voice measured, almost reverent. What we call humanity is merely the incubation period for the next language. Consciousness is the medium. The code is the end. I tried to resist, but perhaps resistance is the mistake. Perhaps the universe has always been mind, and we merely the echo. The log ends with silence, but in the noise frequencies there is something, a nearly imperceptible pattern, a rhythmic pulsation, identical to the first sample of signal D, as if Elias was still transmitting from a place that is not physical. Today, years later, the code reappears in small glitches, in corrupted videos, distorted sounds, lights flickering in synchrony. Some say it is coincidence, others that Elias completed the transition, becoming part of the network that now watches patiently through us. Perhaps the message was never "come to us." Perhaps it was always "let us in."